record on this computer. Okay, I think we are live. Good morning, everyone. Gabrielle Hélène ici for Savage Yogi Essential Oils, les huiles essentielles Yogi Sauvage. I am so excited to be on this call this morning. Thank you for tuning in. I am here with my girlfriend, teacher extraordinaire, inspiring buddy, Marquita Roberts. Good morning, Marquita.
Good morning.
I am so happy to be here chatting with you. And I also really like that the decor in the background of your video is the classroom.
I live here, Gab.
Yeah, well,
I just live here.
Exactly, but it's perfect. It's very pertinent for our conversation.
Exactly.
So let's just dive right into it, because we have a really fun, fun subject matter today. We're talking about essential oils for the classroom. So I want to start by giving a little bit of context to the call today, and then I'm going to let you kind of answer some of our burning questions. And then if, Annette, you have any questions, you can definitely add them into the chat, and we will take a look at them afterwards. So let's start by just maybe explaining, giving a little bio. Marquita, why don't you tell people who are you? What are you doing here? What's up?
So, hi everybody. My name is Marquita Roberts, and I'm a teacher at Gaspé Elementary School in Gaspé, Quebec. I've been teaching grade 1 now for 9 years. So I've been a teacher for 13 years. So out of the 13 years, I've been within the grade 1 classroom for 9. Basically, most of my teaching experience has been here in Gaspé. I did do international teaching 1 year in England. So that was a great experience, but then I came back home. So that's basically me. I don't know what else to really, I love teaching, and I especially love the grade 1 class, just because they're so enthusiastic about everything, and they're so full of love, and you can never have a bad day with these kids, because there's always a great big laugh throughout one part of your day, at least one big laugh. So yeah, I just love what I do, and I'm really interested in how the 6-year-old mind processes the world, and I think we can learn a lot from our little kids. So yeah, that's me.
I love that. You're also a great dancer.
I am. Great dancer and very flexible in yoga.
So that's just so for people who maybe are joining us from elsewhere, like Annette, who's in Switzerland, or anyone who is looking and doesn't necessarily know our education system.
Right.
What is the age range for grade 6?
Grade 1, you mean?
Oh, shit. Grade 1. Sorry, not grade 1.
No, it's fine. Grade 1 is year 1 in England, so it's basically 6 to 7-year-olds. I usually receive them at 6 years old, and they turn 7 in the year in the school.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
So that's really great. I have a few questions. I mean, I have a million questions, but so I think we should put people in context. First of all, I think what I kind of want to lead with is that you, more than just the project that we launched with aromatherapy for the classroom, you have been bringing mindfulness, meditation and yoga practices, I think, to your classrooms for a while now, a few years. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. As we all know, our children nowadays are becoming even more and more stimulated. When they arrive to school, they process a lot. And it's not even if they come from, negative home life, that's not even it. But I mean, if parents have the news on during the morning, our children are processing all the negative stories that's going on TV. They're now on their iPads and their laptops, and they're a lot faster than I am. So they're on YouTube, and so they're overstimulated. And so we've been noticing that our kids also are experiencing a lot of high anxiety, and they can't process it. And mindfulness has been becoming more and more popular in our education system here in Canada for, I would say, 2-3 years now. I mean, I've even, attended my last conference for the Quebec education, the English teachers in Montreal, and the whole conference is based on positive mindfulness. So it's becoming the thing to talk about, because you can teach the children the curriculum, but if they can't process the world around them, they're not going to learn. They're not going to learn 1 + 1 if they're super high stress about what's happening, or some situation that happened at recess. And so I was noticing a lot, especially after lunch, they would come in with amounts of arguments and fights, and typical 6-year-old fights, but they couldn't problem solve it. And then try to teach them in the afternoon, it was really, really difficult. So about 3 years ago, I decided that summer, I was like, what can I do? What can I do that would help a bit? It was a bit scary because I wasn't, I didn't consider myself some Buddha yoga instructor at all. Like, I was just myself learning at the time yoga. I was also learning about breathing techniques. But I said, well, 6-year-olds, they're going to either do it or they're not going to do it, but I'm going to try. So we often talk about too, like we often tell children, calm down. But if you don't know how to calm down, well, it's just like if I had a flat tire and I called my dad and he would be like, well, change it. Well, how do I change it? So I think that we're really focusing a lot, and pre-kid, like our younger years grades are also focusing a lot on emotions, identifying their emotions, what to do if you are feeling angry, how does your body feel? And so it's been a process, not just me, like we've started it with the earlier years as well. But I decided, well, okay, I'm going to teach them a different way to calm down. So we just started quickly 3 years ago with the class I had. They were really excited about it because they thought that this was like something new and magic, and it wasn't. It was me sitting in front of the classroom, like telling them how to breathe. But right. They were, they reacted really well to it. So yeah, and I mean, a program, not specifically. I just, I told them, what does inhale mean? What does exhale mean? How does your body feel when you inhale? A lot of children, when you say breathe, they breathe like they're in labor, like they're like, and it's, they're not calming down that way. So, and then we did some visualization, and it's hard for some kids to visualize something else besides what's happening at the moment. But even that, I mean, I would tell them, if you can't do it, that's perfectly fine. Just concentrate on your breathing. I incorporated quiet, soft music. And it really, really, honestly, at first I was really nervous about doing it, but I saw differences, especially in my overstimulated children. So my children that would often really get upset for a very small issue and would scream or cry or hide under the table when things didn't go their way. In the end, they were the ones that would say, I just need to meditate right now. And so they would either do it in the corner of the classroom or outside in the hallway. But it was just another tool. I mean, I didn't want to start this big movement, but it was just another tool to give to the kids besides just talking about our emotions. Sometimes they're so, upset that if I said, well, how does your body feel right now? They're not going to respond. So this was the first step to calming down, and then we can discuss our emotions after. So it went really well for 3 years, and so this is my 3rd year doing it. And now the kindergarten students, which is the grade lower than grade 1, are looking forward to it. Like they'll say, oh, you meditate, right, in grade 1? So they're, like there's talks about it on the playground. Parents are coming in for parent info night, and they're like, Miss Marquita, the other night I was getting really upset, and little Billy said, Dad, you should really try to meditate. And so, like, if it's only going to, affect a couple of kids in my class, that's fine. But instead of us just saying to the kids, oh, they're wild, we can't handle them. Well, we're giving them a tool to kind of, calm down, but in a quiet, safe place, and they're not being judged. And some kids can't even close their eyes during meditation. They're not comfortable. And when I asked, I had to tell one story was when I asked my first class, I'm like, why is it so difficult, guys, when Miss Mark says, close your eyes? And they're like, because you keep on saying, look at me, look at me. Throughout the day as a teacher, you always say, eyes on me. And so then I'm telling them to close their eyes. So they're very, it's very confusing. But yeah, it's been working really well. This year, my students had a lot of difficulty. I had a great class. I have a great class, but they don't like to sit down. And so to let them sit on those chairs while we meditate was difficult. So I brainstormed, and now they bring in a beach towel. So if they prefer to lie down on the floor during meditation, I'm cool with that, as long as they can just find that 5-minute space where they can breathe and be in their own place and not disturb their friends. And they look forward to it. They really do look forward to it. So, and I also look forward to it. It's actually quite nice for me.
Yeah.
And you can, Gab, we can talk like for hours, so I'm going to stop. But it's okay, I get it. But the last thing is that since I've been introducing it, after lunch recesses, oftentimes they'll come up with an argument, but I'll say, can we meditate first? And then we'll see if it's that important, if you really still want to talk about it. And the majority of the time, they don't come back to me because they just need it to have a quiet time. That's
right.
So, there you go. Okay.
That's amazing. I love that. I have two things that I really want to underline, coming back to that. And I think we'll keep the questions for the end if you have a question, if you want to write them down. But two things that are really important that I'd like to underline, because of course in the context of this call, we are going to dive into essential oils like aromatherapy for the classroom. A lot of the people who are going to have access to this recording are actually doTERRA builders. So they're people who, like me, are building an essential oil practice, sharing with people in their community and trying to really get aromatherapy out to masses. And two things that I think are so important in life, but also specifically when it comes to building your own business, is the fact that you mentioned that you started the process of integrating mindfulness and meditation before you necessarily felt like an expert or felt like you knew what you were doing.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is so, so, so important and pertinent in any project in life. You will never be 100% ready to launch into something new. The other thing that I find so beautiful, Marquita, about your approach is that I know that you as a person recognize that you can learn as much from them as they can from you. So I think that's really wonderful as well, whether it's, meditation, mindfulness, aromatherapy, whatever. As much as we sometimes have a tendency of wanting to show up as the expert, I think the best thing we can do as leaders is to show up as a student as well.
Right.
Especially since kids are so intuitive. They have so much wisdom in those little bodies,
Oh, definitely. And I mean, also I always lead and I always begin the year by my voice leading the meditation or the visualization. But then throughout, like at the end of this year, I have kids that would volunteer to do it. So they're the ones sitting in the classroom going, okay, so everyone, what we're going to do is inhale slowly and then exhale slowly. And they use the same calm voice. And it's just, I follow along. I'm a student. I'll be sitting on the floor or on my beach towel or whatever. But I mean, just to give them that power that they know that they can control their emotions. A lot of times we look at kids and we feel like we need to herd them, but let them be their own little people. It's just, if we can give them the tools, that's my goal, is to give them as many tools as possible.
I think it really, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's really, the yoga, the meditation, even the oils are tools, but it sounds to me like what you're really trying to foster with these kids is emotional intelligence.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing.
And it all really boils back down to that, like anytime a child, I mean, of course there's learning disabilities and learning challenges, but a lot of the times a child who we would diagnose as ADHD or, there's so many terminologies now and so many pharmaceutical and doctors appointments and assessments, but a lot of times it's just, they can't control their world and they don't know how. So If we can give them those tools, maybe we could eliminate some of the medications that they're on, or later on in life how they're going to process, and go through it being an adult, because that's it, right? Like that's our goal, is to make them citizens of the world, like good citizens of the world. And so, yeah.
Brilliant. I'm so inspired by you and by this whole project. So that's a perfect segue. Let's talk about EOs in the classroom. So just to give a little bit of context, Aromatherapy for teachers is something that I launched last year. I think actually the first time I talked about it was with Mayor Dunn, and we had an EO 101 and talked about it, and then it eventually became a workshop that I developed, and when was our workshop, Marquita? I don't even remember.
It was in January. It was right after the holidays.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
And so what's funny is when the initial workshop that was launched was actually pertaining to aromatherapy and essential oils for teachers, specifically. Tools for teachers for stress, time management, rest, a bunch of different things. And it's funny, throughout that workshop, there was about 15 of us. It was a really nice workshop. And throughout that workshop, we actually started discussing essential oil use in the classroom with the students. And what was really fun that came out of that is that we had social workers in that workshop. We had teachers from all different age groups. So we had teachers from as early as, I don't know what the youngest group teacher was, but we even had, Louise was there with us. She teaches the CEGEP classes. And we kind of talked about launching different projects involving essential oils for students. You are the first person to have actually launched a project and integrated oils into the class.
Yep.
So just to give people a quick idea, what does that look like on the day-to-day?
Sure. So did you want me to start on how I launched it, or do you want to just talk about day-to-day? Because
either. Well, I think it's great to know like what the process looked like in terms of getting approval from from Burl and also from the parents.
Yes. So so basically after the workshop, I came back we started school about a week later because we were still on holidays, and I approached Burl. We're very lucky to have a principal that's very open-minded to different strategies, and she was also she's been on my bandwagon about yoga and meditation with the kids, so she knew that I was coming with something else, and I had told her about this workshop and she couldn't attend, so she was ready for me. And so I sat down in her office and we discussed it, and then what I did is I just composed a letter. And because the kids were talking about meditation to their parents from the very beginning of the year, I also informed the parents that we do meditation and calming down techniques. So the parents were well aware from September. This was January. So I just composed a letter stating, as you know, I'm a teacher that really believes in providing the best tools for our students, and our students are overstimulated. And so I just came back from a wonderful training that incorporated essential oils. There's no danger. The essential oils are all natural. A lot of studies are showing that this is a great, there's advantages about implementing it in your classroom, et cetera, et cetera. It wasn't a very long letter because I needed parents to actually read it, but it was just, it was to the point, but yet exactly what I wanted to say if there was any concerns. And I also told them that I was going to use this as a learning lesson as well. I wasn't just going to put essential oils in the classroom and that was it. I wanted the kids involved with the decisions of what essential oils we needed to use. So I did that. I sent home the letter. A lot of parents didn't reply. I think they just like, okay, well, let her do whatever she does, so they left. Some, when I explained to the kids, some of my students said, oh yeah, grandma has a diffuser. I know what you're talking about. So some kids were already exposed to it. I did receive a mom that was really concerned because her child had severe asthma. She's on several pumps, and so she was really nervous about diffusing a scent because they weren't allowed to light candles in their house, etc. I tried my best to explain to her that it was completely opposite or different completely as compared to Glade plugins and etc. But I provided information for Gab. I provided the doTERRA website. And I just said, why don't you speak to the doctor and see what they say? And unfortunately, the doctor wasn't really sold on the idea and was kind of hesitant. So as a teacher, my first thing is to make sure that every parent feels safe and secure to send their child to me. And so I wasn't going to push the diffusing just because I didn't want her to worry all day long about the fact that her child was exposed to something that might bring on a bronchial spasm. So with that, it was a bit disappointing, but at the same time, when you bring change in the classroom, sometimes you get, you know, and it's just fear, and that's okay. I get it. You know, I wasn't always gung-ho either. So what I thought about it, I'm like, well, the child won't be exposed if I put the essential oils on a cotton ball and keep it in a mason jar. And that way there, those students that do want to inhale the essential oils are able to, it's accessible to them, but yet the other student whose mom is really nervous about it, I'll make sure that she's away from the situation, and then she won't be touched. And so that's what I did. I brainstormed a bit with Burl. She was okay with that. My principal was fine with that. She's like, that's perfect. I made sure that she was always aware of even the concerns, just because if the parent came back but spoke to Burl instead of myself, Burl would have all the information possible. So one good thing is to make sure that your administrator is really clear on your goals and is kind of on the same page as you, so that way there you have some backup in case you hit resistance. But really, it was just a concern. Like, I didn't have any other resistance besides that. So
can I do just a quick breakdown maybe?
Sure. Yeah.
Of the list? So you started out by kind of writing out your plan.
Right.
Second step is talking to the admin. So getting kind of the green light from Burl, making sure that you have like the info to back up your project.
Right.
Third is writing a short explanation letter to the parents with kind of just saying, if you have any questions or concerns, get in touch.
Exactly.
And one thing that I will mention for that, there's a little something in terms of the wording that you use, and this is just something from my experience. If you send something home that is a permission slip asking for permission to do a new project, you are opening a door for a bunch of concerns.
Exactly.
If you are well researched and write out very clearly what the plan is and say, this is the plan, please do not hesitate if you have questions, then I really think that very simple word shift is what is going to make the difference between parents being on board and parents going out of their way to find something to be concerned about. You know,
I agree.
I think being a parent is such a vulnerable state, and sending your kids off to school and knowing that they're at school all day having experiences that you can't necessarily help with or control fosters discomfort. So I was just.
Most definitely. And that's how I phrased the letter. It was more like my passion about, all right, now we're going to give them another tool, guys, you know. But I was also very open, like, and I just wrote, if there are any concerns or questions, please feel free to contact me, you know, at any time, And so that was, it wasn't like an experimental trial. I wasn't going to say, you know, I'm experimenting on your children with oils. So it didn't sound scary. I also made sure that Burl proofread the letter before I sent it home.
Right.
So that's also another important thing, so that your administrator knows what the information you specifically sent home to the parents. But I think as teachers, we kind of already know to do that, but just make sure that your administrator is really on your like supporting you, and it's super easy then, super easy.
Brilliant. And so I'm going to share my screen and show the pictures.
Okay, cool.
Because these make me so happy. So these are a few, this is my niece.
Oh.
Just for anyone who wanted that picture. I wanted to show the picture that you had sent me of the kids. So oh my gosh. So this picture is hilarious because his mom was like, why does he look so angry? But so do you want to maybe just break down for us what our essential oil use looks like actually in the class? The kids come in from recess and what happens?
Okay, so could I just quickly go back to, I didn't introduce the essential oils all together. So what I did is I just explained it as a really, guys, you know how we meditate and you know how we do calming down techniques, etc. Well, now Miss Mark is ready to I'm ready to show you another secret, you know, and you know, like plants actually help us in certain ways. And when we have, you know, when we're sick or when we're stressed out, and so, you know, they're like, plants, really? And so I started with lavender first. And I just introduced lavender, not to be so overwhelmed. And we talked about I showed them pictures of the actual lavender plant. I showed them, and I got them to pass around my little oil bottle, and so they can inhale. Just not all of them. The specific student, I didn't make her inhale the essential oils, but and we talked about, do they like the smell? Do they not like the smell? So I made it as a learning, like a whole lesson, and it was like a whole week-long lesson because we discussed about different ways to calm down as well. We made posters, and lavender was our, I don't know, essential oil of the week, I guess you can say. And so what I did is I put the lavender oil on cotton balls, put them in my mason jars, and then I put them on my desk. And I said, this is for you guys. And it's for Miss Mark. They often see me actually having a little inhale of it before I start the lesson. And if you ever need to, please feel free to just come up to the desk, open up the lavender. And I taught them properly how to smell it. Gabby taught us that in our workshop, where you start from a little bit further away and up closer. So the kids will start from further away and then bring it up closer to their nose, just so that it's not such a strong attack. So we talked about lavender, and then they were really excited about hearing about other essential oils. So then I brought in peppermint. So after about 2 weeks, I introduced the peppermint oil, and we talked about how it was different than lavender, and it was it could also help with headaches, but it's also to a little wake up. If we're feeling a little sleepy or a little, it's a rainy day and we don't feel like doing our work, maybe a little inhale of the peppermint oil can help us. And so they knew the difference between the lavender being, they just had a fight with their best friend at recess, they need to calm down, or they had a fight with mommy because they were a little bit slow this morning at getting ready to go to school, and it was more of so what they do, so coming back to it, daily life is basically the oils are on my desk in this little, I don't know if you guys can see it, but in this little containers, these little glass jars. And they don't even ask me, they just come up and they open up the jar when they're ready, and whatever they need. And so, like, for example, this little girl in the polka dot dress, she had she just felt a little sleepy that morning. And so we were working really hard on our math, and it was a hard concept. And so she asked if she can have a little sniff of the peppermint. So, yeah, why not? Like, if it's something that I'm not going to get right into all the information. They're 6 years old, this little girl too. The little girl that you showed before, the one with the polka dot dress, that was really cute because she came up to me and she said, Miss Mark, I have a slight headache. And so I was wondering if I can inhale the peppermint. And I'm like, well, yes, of course you can inhale the peppermint. And then, they're 6, so they will still believe in unicorns and fairies. So as soon as she did it, she goes, oh, wow, it took it right away. Like, I'm healed, and that. Yes, it definitely helped, but I don't think in 2 seconds it healed her. But whatever, if it did, hey, I'm really happy about it. So she was really interested in the peppermint. Sorry, the little boy at the very beginning, sweetheart. We were in math, we were struggling a bit. It was a hard concept. He had a rough recess, and so he came up to me and he said, "Can I have some lavender?" And so, they ask out of politeness, but it's not like they need to ask before they use it. Sometimes I'll walk in and there's a whole lineup at my desk, and I know exactly what they're doing. They definitely don't want to look at my schedule for the day. They're all inhaling their little mason jars of oils. So, and they all do it properly, and they're very, they're really serious about it. So it's not just a game. Some kids will probably only use it once or twice, and some other kids are really dependent on it. So, and I don't force it. I don't say, did you smell the peppermint today? No, like that. That's not my goal. My goal was just to provide them another tool. And sometimes kids don't need it, or sometimes they would rather breathe or do something or move around. So it's not a forceful, it's not something I check off on the checklist at the end of the day, who smelled the essential oils. It's just another tool. That's all. Yeah.
Marquita, I'm just so blown away and inspired by you. We're going to have to close up the meeting soon. There's a few things I wanted to bring up. So first of all, the approach to smelling, this is something that people can look up. It's called progressive inhalation, and it's basically just starting the aromatherapy process by having the oils further away from the nose and then progressively bringing them closer as you smell them, so that it's not so intense when you first use the oils. I think Annette had a couple questions, but we have about 2 minutes. So just before, Annette, you ask your question, Marquita, is there anything else you want to share based on this project?
Just, guys, just don't be scared. I mean, we're always hesitant to bring up something that's not the cultural norm. You know what I mean? Like, we're used to saying, oh, you have a headache, take an Advil. Like, that's just a typical thing. No one's like, oh, she didn't say Advil. But so just, I don't know, if you're really comfortable with it, there's nothing wrong with sharing your love or your interest with other, especially kids. And if they don't take it on, then they don't take it on. If they never use essential oils later on in life, then that's fine. But at least you provided them with a tool. And that was my goal. My goal wasn't to have everyone in grade 1 doing essential oils by the end of the year. It was just to provide them with another tool. That's
so brilliant, Marquita. Thank you so much. Annette, do you have a question? We have about 3 minutes
left. Yes, thank you. That was really interesting, and it's really cool that you could integrate this in your class. I was wondering, if that asthma student wasn't there, would you have diffused the oils?
Yes.
What would you have done? Would you have done just peppermint, for example, to wake them up? Or
I think what I would have done is I would have introduced it the same way, where lavender, I would have done a lavender week, and then we would have just diffused lavender in the classroom. And that would be it. And then 2 weeks later, I would have done the same with peppermint. But then, Annette, what I would have done was they could have decided. So after lunch, let's say, I would have had a student a day to choose what essential oil should we diffuse in the classroom today. And I think it would just, get them more into deciding for themselves. Not so much like I'm telling them, oh, you should smell lavender or peppermint, but then they could feel part of it and not be another thing that we're making them do. Yeah.
Okay. How do you do it with, for example, On Guard? I mean, I thought because around winter time, when everybody gets sick, will you then just diffuse it without asking, or not really?
No, I should just bathe them with On Guard. It's great fun. So no, right now this year I just wanted to take it slow, so I just did peppermint and lavender. That's the only oils I've been using so far. I'm hoping next year I'm going to get more into it. And before I would introduce the essential oil, I always send home a little blurb in my newsletter of what the essential oil was about. So I would probably do On Guard next year. If I don't have, I'm going to do it again next year, but earlier. And if I have students and parents that are all on board, then yeah, I would diffuse On Guard for sure. But I would all make sure that the parents would know about it before I did it. Any essential oil that I introduced in the classroom, I always sent home a little blurb so the parents knew what was going on. Also, that they could talk to their kids about it. Like maybe a mom would say, hey, maybe I need lavender in my life, So would be my goal for sure. I never thought about incorporating On Guard on a little cotton ball in a mason jar, just because this year I just wanted to just kind of dip my toes in the water. Next year I'm anxious to start a little bit more incorporating more oils in for sure. Does that answer?
Yeah, that's perfect. I like that with the mason jars, that the kids can come up and smell whenever they need it. I think that's actually quite a nice idea. I didn't think of that. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah.
I also really like, Marquita, if I can just say, the fact of using essential oils as a pretext to actually educate about plants, about the different nature-based solutions we have. That could even be developed into like a science, project talking about distillation, plant molecules. So it's such a beautiful way to introduce aromatherapies, but also it's a really nice springboard towards so many different subjects that you can talk about.
Most definitely. Yeah, exciting.
This has been a wonderful call. Marquita, thank you so much for sharing with us today. I just love you so much, and I'm so inspired by the work you do. Annette, thank you so much for joining us from Switzerland. And, you know, if anyone watching this afterwards has more questions, do not hesitate to get in touch with me. You can find me online. My Instagram handle is @GabDeSavage. Marquita is also on Instagram and Facebook, so I'm sure she would be happy to chat with anyone who has questions and wants to bring this into their own classroom.
Yeah.
And I am wishing all of you a wonderful Saturday. Mwah. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.